Good evening to everyone. On behalf of Riva Engineering College, it is a great pleasure to welcome our esteemed audience to today's session. Serving the nation since 1964, Riva Engineering College has experienced tremendous growth over the years. Our college proudly holds NBA accreditation for three branches and offers both undergraduate and postgraduate programs on campus. Today's session is part of the expert lecture series and placement cell and training cell and REC Pedia is initiated this this session. This series is designed to bring together industry leaders and subject matter experts to share their insights and experiences, providing our students and faculty with invaluable knowledge and inspiration. The Expert Lecture Series aims to foster a culture of innovation and continuous learning on our campus. By engaging with experts from various fields, we strengthen our academic community and keep pace with the latest trends and developments in the industry. The mission of the Expert Lecture Series is to provide in depth guidance, host technical discussions, and offer strategic insights that prepare our students for successful careers. Through these expert-led sessions, we strive to equip our students with the tools and knowledge they need to excel in their professional journeys and contribute meaningfully to their chosen fields. Now, I would like to call Ayush for welcoming our guest.
Thank you, Suranjali. Good evening, everyone. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to today's expert lecture session as a part of Hirak Jayanti talk series. We are delighted to have such an engaged audience, including students, faculty members, and professionals with us today. A special welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Pattabhi Ramaiah sir, Associate Professor at IIT Bhubaneswar. Sir, we are honored to have you with us today, and we look forward to your insight on latest research trends in academics. Your expertise and contribution to fields like lithium-ion batteries and computational methods have been truly inspiring. On behalf of Riva Engineering College team, I extend a warm welcome to you and to all attendees. We hope this session will be enriching and informative for us. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Pattabhi Ramaiah sir. Over to you, Suranjali.
Thank you, Ayush. Now I would like to call Sarvagi for the introduction of our guest.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Swaranjali. Good evening, everyone. It's my privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Pattabhi Ramaiah sir, who is an associate professor at the School of Mechanical Science, IIT Bhubaneswar. He has held prestigious postdoctoral research fellowships at the IMT School for Advanced Studies, Italy, and the Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, UAE. He completed his PhD at Bauhaus University of Weimar, Germany. His research focuses on areas such as lithium-ion batteries, photovoltaic solar cells, hybrid hierarchical cellular structures, deep machine learning, and computational methods for fracture. Ramaiah sir has been recognized among the world's top 2% of most influential scientists for 2024 by the Stanford University Rankings. He is also an editorial board member of respected journals, including the International Journal of Computational Methods and Frontiers of Structural and Civil Engineering. Without further ado, I am excited to present to you Dr. Pattabhi Ramaiah sir, who will be sharing his insights on latest research trends in academics. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for the nice introduction, and I welcome all of you to my talk. So yeah, let's move on. And yeah, I would like to quickly start with my background, brief background. I have only one slide for this. So I completed my bachelor's of engineering in 2000 from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati. And then 2003, Master of Engineering from IIT Bangalore in Mechanical Engineering with a All India Gate rank of 10. And later on, so my Doctor of Philosophy, that is PhD, was completed in 2015 from Bose University of Weimar. And between Masters and PhD, I have almost like 6 to 7 years of experience, starting with BHEL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, during 2003, 2005, 2005, 2007, in Aeronautical Development Establishment, DRDO, and 2007 and 2010 as a design engineer at GE Bangalore. Okay. Later on, I relocated to Germany in the year 2010, and I was there in Germany between 2010 and 14 towards my doctoral studies as a scientific co-worker. So this is a job, unlike a student position, so in Germany. And yeah, so I completed the research that I've done as part of this was submitted for my doctoral degree, and then I was awarded with PhD in 2015. Later on, so I worked as a research fellow at IIT Lucca, as well as Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, UAE, that is Abu Dhabi. And then from 2017 onwards, I've been associated with IIT Bhubaneswar. So as at various positions, for instance, assistant professor in the visiting position, assistant professor regular position, and associate professor since October 2023. So this is my brief background. And then so I'm also holding some positions like ICM, International Journal for Computational Methods, FSC, Frontiers in Structural and Civil Engineering Journals. And of course, lead guest editor for special issues in several journals, for example, EAB, TOFMEC, and ICM journals, and so on. So this is my brief background, and my contact. If somebody is interested and want to contact, you are free to contact. All right. Yeah. So let's quickly come to the point. So basically, the title of the talk indicates that latest research trends in academics. So you must be wondering, so why I should do research? And probably many of you will be wondering, like, what is research? So therefore, I would like to answer these two questions before actually entering into my research topics. So I would like to answer this first question, like, why research? So the answer could be like, in simple, like in one word, I can summarize it like research is required for better life. Okay. So the better life comes from growing demands. So you can always compare, your childhood with the current state, current life. So life at your childhood and present life. Okay. You can see a lot of differences. For instance, you can see one aspect like safety. So look at the banks, the way they function, automobiles, the way they operate, buildings, infrastructure. So all these areas, of course, there are many more. So you can see one significant aspect, that is the safety. So the safety has significantly enhanced because of the continuous research. Look at automobiles, like you have, many advanced features, completely air conditioning, and then so, less shock absorbing, so that your comfort of ride will be much better. And of course, banks. So olden days, you need to go to bank for everything, but nowadays everything is happening over mobile. So significant development. Buildings, and of course, buildings has got several safety and security features apart from modern aspects, including the aesthetics. So which is possible only by research. Infrastructure as well, like you can think about any public properties, roads. So you can see a significant difference. So this is one aspect. And then the second aspect is like speed. Again, one more time, you can think about transportation. So you can see significant developments in the areas of transportation, electronics, academics as well, right? For instance, so when I was a boy, like maybe some 15, 20 years old, then publishing a paper is like a hell. Like people have to submit the copies of the paper by post, and then it has to go to the editor, and he has to send it to the reviewers, and then it takes a 6 months to 1 year process. But nowadays, everything is happening over just like that, maybe a few days, a month or two maximum, right? So you can see a significant enhancement in the speed, and of course, not only these areas, but yeah, in all relevant areas. And finally, the comfort, ease of life. So look at the mobile, the way it was there a few years back, and presently, lifestyle, communication. So communication has become extremely, easy. So these days you can talk to anyone in the world just like that. There are many tools. Okay, all this is possible because of continuous research. And some consequences are like, so because of these continuous development, research and development, so you can see creation or development of new technology actions, a careful observation indicates that there is certainly a crime behind that. So this is not my words, but Mario Puzo, so the author of the Godfather novel, which is a very, very popular, and you have the movie in 3 parts. So this was in 1969. And an extension of this is like, my version is like, behind every comfort, so there's a sacrifice. So you can apply this to everyday life. Okay, so look at the mother. So the mother sacrifices many things for the sake of the children and for the sake of the family members. Okay, so this is my belief, so which finally translates to no free lunch. So if something is coming for free, then you should suspect immediately. So things should be earned by hard work. Okay, so that requires sacrifice. All right, so with these few words, I would like to summarize that the law of conservation of energy is applicable in real time. So in nature, so basically the nature beautifully balances the energy. For instance, development means consumption of more resources. That means exploitation of the nature. So in other words, all these things like safety, speed, comfort, ease of life, creation of jobs, creation of wealth doesn't come free. So they come with the expense of more resources. So this means we are exploiting the nature. So this means the nature has to balance such an exploitation, because it cannot sustain for continuous exploitation. This means in the limit of growth or development, there will be a destruction, right? So therefore, there's some great saying like, something that grows has to fall. Okay, so these words has to be kept in mind, and one must be judicious and conscious, and while executing the things or developing the things. All right. Okay, so this is the first part. And then, so the second part is like, what kind of research? So should I really do research? And if at all, if I have to do research, what kind of research I have to do? Okay, so this is the second question probably which most of you might be thinking. Okay, so the first thing is, research is definitely required for continuous development. And then what kind of research should I do? To answer that question, we need to understand what is research. Okay, so research is all about creation or addition of knowledge, which requires significant efforts. So this is something like a birth of knowledge, some cases, or some cases addition of knowledge. Both the things are not easy. So addition or creation, so requires a lot of time, a lot of efforts, and it's painful. So it's a continuous, rigorous process. And also it requires funds. Okay, so therefore, that's why the word sentence doing research is an honor is very much applicable. Okay, so one requires a lot of patience and knowledge, honesty, confidence, and skills. So all these aspects will be displayed at some time or the other in the process of research. Okay, so these things must be believed in by the researcher, and then the researcher has to continuously stick on to these aspects which are very, very fundamental but detrimental. In other words, deviation from these aspects can lead to negative results at any point of life. All right. So in other words, persistency is the persistency with awareness is the key. Okay, must be persistent and at the same time having these qualities: patience, knowledge, honest, confidence, and skills. Of course, there are several attributes to this or derived quantities, but at least you must be sticking to these things with persistency to be successful. Okay, and one key technique to performing a successful research is like not this way. So this is a process of elimination, because this is the process of creation of knowledge. So therefore, creation of knowledge has to be done by, in a unique or novel fashion. In the sense, like if somebody is proposing something which is already existing, then nobody appreciates, and that is not required. So therefore, one has to, carefully eliminate the things like, let me try this way, or let me try the other way, let me try the third way, like that. Okay, so like that you have to finally converge to the objective or the goal of interest, right? So therefore, the road to success is simply elimination. So unless you want to do a quality research, so you should follow this, right? Otherwise, you'll be ending up a mediocre research, which is of no use, right? So in this context, guidance from experts, something like supervisor or collaborators or friends, is very much required and encouraged. Okay, so the understanding is that it's not easy. So therefore, all these things must work together to finally ending up in a successful product. In other words, to become a successful researcher, must be passionate, and it must be, again, having these quantities along with passion, smart, less simple work, but more of smart work, all right, creative. So these things are required. And you must be vigilant to choose the areas close to the heart, and at the same time, you must be working on the current problems with future scope, all right? In other words, if I do some research which will be, useful in future, let's say after 10 years or 15 years, or whether it may be useful or not, that I cannot guarantee. That kind of a research is not going to help you. All right. So therefore, it must be close to the heart, and it should be having practical applications and add value to research products. For instance, you can think about Elon Musk, who is very, very successful. So the key to his success is he adds value to his products like anything. So if somebody is adding 4 times or 5 times, he'll be adding something like 40 times or 400 times, because he presents the things in a different way. So that's the key for his success. All right. So with these brief few words, I would like to give you an example. So for instance, recently there's a call from Government of India, so which is the mission for advancements in high impact areas. In simple, it is known as the MAHA, Mission for Advancements in High Impact Areas. So this is a EV mission, so electric vehicles mission. All right. So the ideas behind such a mission are as follows. So the link is provided over here. So priority-driven, solution-focused research in mission mode. So the basic background behind the mission mode is to, give priority and solution-focused, in the sense like they are definitely looking for a product. So this, for instance, promote research and development of electric vehicle adoption in India. So this is the main objective. So the solution is electric vehicle, and then the priority is given to R&D of electric vehicles. So the motivation behind that is an ecosystem that enables self-reliance and global competitiveness. So finally, one should end up with a self-reliant and then at the same time globally competitive system. Okay, with this ideology, they put this advertisement notification to submit the research proposals, where they are looking for EV components, related subsystems, chargers, grid interface, and so on. Everything related to electric vehicles. Okay, so the expectation is like cutting edge futuristic research, so which can lead to future global leadership of our country, enhance domestic R&D capabilities, and position India as a hub for development for EV components. These are all the consequences of the proposed research. So this can contribute towards the Atmanirbhar Bharat or self-reliant India or Vikasit Bharat developed nation by the year 2047. Okay, so these are the objectives, and the focus area is development of electric vehicles. Yeah, at this context, I would like to highlight that the electric vehicle development has started way back. For instance, countries like China have recognized the importance of zero carbon emissions in the beginning of 2000s itself. Okay, so they started working on developing technologies related to clean energy, something like batteries and solar cells, and they made a significant progress. So the point over here is like, so China has pumped a huge amount of money for the R&D thousands and invested in people and leaders now in electric vehicles. Okay, they had much advanced technologies related to batteries as well as solar cells. Okay, yeah, the role of academics over here is the academicians must be able to forecast or predict requirements as on date a few years back or maybe a few decades back. The country has initiated the development call. Okay, so this such an initiation must be forecasted maybe a decade back by the academicians, and they should start working such that they'll be ready with some groundwork such that the applications can be aligned towards the goals of the government. All right. So, for instance, I can give you an example like look at EV sales growth. For instance, over the years 2015 to 2024, almost like 10 years. So the first line says that EVs are the present for China, which is future for the rest of the world. So that means they are already driving this particular area. Okay, so EVs are very, very popular, and there are millions and millions of cars electric cars in China in 2024. Okay, for instance, you can have a look at how they picked up. You see, it started way back in 2015. So this is all because of the research in early 2000s, because you should consider 5 to 10 years of conversion of the research into industrial products. All right, and it steadily picked up. You can see the size of the red region is gradually growing up, and in the year 2024 there are altogether 16.7 million electric vehicles, out of which almost like 10 million vehicles are from China. Such is the dominance. Okay, and we are nowhere in this graph. Okay, you see the rest of the world is very, very meager, and Japan is not doing well, and of course South Korea, North America is also not doing well. Europe, okay, the entire continent together is maybe something like 30% of China. Okay, which is not significant. All right. So by the way, the source is Bloomberg. This is in I think June 2024 or so. Okay, and so yeah, 2024, the real-time scenario of 2024 in China is like a quarter of all new cars purchased in China will be an all electric vehicles or a hybrid. So this is from New York Times. So it's like 25% of the cars that were purchased in the year 2024 belongs to electric vehicles category. So the number says that like China projected to grow by 21% with nearly, you see that 9.9 million cars in the year 2024, right? So which is 3.4 million cars in Europe, in entire Europe together, which is 10% more than in 2023. Okay, so this is 21%, whereas this is 10%. North America, 31% growth, but you see the number, it's 1.9 million units. Although the growth looks big, but they don't have a initial numbers. Like, see, the China is 21% growth results in 9.9 million cars, whereas in America it is 1.9 million only. So therefore, China is already ahead. Okay, so they are racing in this area. All right. So look at how the global presence is going to be in the coming years. Let's say 2017, 10 years from 2017. So that includes the present year as well as 25, 27, the near future. Okay. So the idea is like we have some presence, India. So somewhere here, very, very tiny dot or tiny color. But again, see the China is going to be dominating, continue to dominate by 2027. So they are more than 15 million. And so the predictions from some members from the globe are as follows. Nordics, that is the Nordics, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So those countries, they are known as the Nordics. They are going to reach 90% of electric vehicles. Germany, UK, and France exceed more than 40 or exceed 40%. US will see 29% EV sales, slowed down by election-related uncertainties. Japan lags behind, so because Japanese are not going well in this direction. So overall, the global EV fleet is expected to expand over 132 million by 2027. So this is entire altogether of all the vehicles in the globe. Okay, from 41 million in 2023. So 41 to 132, that's a huge growth within something like 3 to 4 years. Okay, so therefore this is a very, very demanding field. So EVs has reached 45% of global passenger vehicle sales by 2030 and then 73% by 2040. Okay, so this number, like 100% electric vehicles in India, is expected by 2070. So that's the prediction or the expectation from the government. So you can see the call that I've shown you a few slides back. Okay. So as a result, the message is like Southeast Asia, India, and Brazil, they are going to lag behind the global average, and this requires stronger regulatory support. Whereas Brazil and India are going to experience a rapid growth because we are almost zero at the moment. Okay, so obviously the government is pushing, so therefore we can expect some rapid growth. A lot of funds and then a lot of research as a result. So you can see several electric products like cars and two-wheelers in the market in the coming years. All right, so this is on a bigger scale, like by 2040, at least we have some sizable, numbers. India, that is in this, magenta color. So you can see that by 2040, we are showing some significant, some effect, whereas China continue to dominate with the rest of the world, but rest of the world is definitely more than the China. Okay, by the year 2040. And of course, 2030, so more or less 50%, the rest of the world will be 50%, whereas China will be 50% of the expectation is. All right, the point is, there's a huge demand for clean energy, and hence, so the direction or the current research trend is to go for development of the concerned products, mainly the batteries. So therefore, research in batteries is picked up. It's already picked up, but in India, so we are actually looking for both research as well as the realizing the products. It means development, research as well as development. So for this particular purpose, let's see what are the opportunities. In order to understand the opportunities available in the areas of batteries, we need to understand what a battery is, right? So a typical battery looks something like this. So you have two electrodes known as the cathode and anode, and in between them there's a separator. Okay, so a battery works on the principle like a chemical energy will be converted to electrical energy. All right, so the materials have to be accordingly chosen. For instance, the cathode is like nickel, manganese, cobalt, NMC 811. So this 811 indicates the percentage composition of these elements. And then the separator material is LiPF, so lithium phosphate, hexaphosphate, some chemical name is there, so that's there in the next slide. So that is lithium hexafluorophosphate. And let me show you this picture clearly. And then there is an anode like graphite. Okay, so by the way, these dimensions are in micrometers. This is a typical battery. You see that the layer thickness is 70 microns, 35 microns as separator, whereas the anode is 320 microns. So the process is like, so I will explain the process in the next slide, but so let's complete this slide. Like, so these layers will be stacked together in alternate fashion, and then in case of a cylindrical cell, so they will be rolled, okay, like this, and then that's how a cylindrical lithium-ion cell is formed. Okay, so if you look at each layer, so you can see anode, separator, and cathode. Whereas in case of a prismatic cell, so they'll be stacked layer-wise, okay? One layer on top of each other. That's known as the prismatic cell. All right, so The mechanics of battery are something like this. Like it's a battery is a series of anode and cathode plates. They stack together alternately or they are rolled like this. Okay. So the cathode material is nickel, manganese, cobalt. So this is NMC 811, and the separator is lithium hexafluorophosphate, whereas the anode is graphite. Okay. So the mechanics is explained in few words like this. Lithium is either removed from the electrolyte and inserted into the electrode material. So basically, so the lithium comes out as a lithium ion, and then so it will be inserted in the graphite, so which is an anode material. And this process is known as intercalation or expel from the electrode, that is graphite, into the electrolyte. And this process is known as the deintercalation, depending upon the direction of the current flow. So that means during charging, so it will be deposited. During discharging, during charging, it will be expelled, and during discharging, it will be deposited. Okay. So this process of charging and discharging, that is intercalation and deintercalation, they'll be continuously happening, such that the lithium ions travel back and forth between the electrodes during the charge and discharge cycles. All right. So this is the basic mechanics of operation of a lithium-ion battery. And you see that anode is a negatively charged electrodes. So usually that is made up of graphite, and graphite is coated onto a metal like copper. And so that is a current collector, so foil current collector. Whereas cathode is a positive electrode, so which is made up of lithium and then metal oxide, where metals can be nickel, manganese, or aluminum, coated onto a metal like aluminum current collector. Okay. Electrolyte is usually a lithium salt, as I mentioned, LiPF6, and these are the materials associated. Right. So there are mainly two types of batteries, known as the primary or non-rechargeable batteries. So where lithium example is lithium metal cells. So that means lithium metal anodes paired with a variety of cathode materials. All right. So corresponding to nominal voltages, these batteries you see in your daily life, because these are like use and throw kind of materials, use and throw kind of batteries. Whereas the secondary or the rechargeable batteries, they belong to lithium ion cells, where the lithium metal is dislodged during the intercalation process and deposited in anode, and it will be the reverse thing happens during the deintercalation. Okay. Therefore, in this case, lithium is not present in a metallic form, but rather electrode active material in the form of ions, and it will be moving inside the separator. So during the charging and discharging. Okay, so that is the difference between primary and secondary, that is non-rechargeable and rechargeable batteries. Okay, so therefore it is important to monitor the motion of the lithium ions during the charge discharge process. For that, so we had some parameters, like for instance, people say it as C rating. So C rating is like a dimensionless way of expressing discharge or charge rates. For instance, if you are extracting a discharge, 1 ampere hour within, let's say 10 hours, 1 amperes of current in 10 hours, then the C reading it can be said to be 0.1 C. Whereas if 1 ampere of current is extracted in 2 hours, then the C rating is said to be 0.5. Whereas if 1 ampere of current is extracted in 1 hour, then the C rating is said to be 1 C, and so on. Okay. So therefore, the C rating is something to do with the current extraction and the associated time. I can say rate of extraction of the current. Okay. So therefore, 2 ampere hour cell, so the currents would be doubled at the same discharge time. On the other hand, if I consider 2 ampere hour cell, then the the times would be simply double that 1 ampere hour cell. All right. So this is about C rating, and yeah, the battery capacity is usually measured in ampere hours. So which is the Coulombic capacity of the cell. So measured at a specified rate. So that is C rate. So the capacity, the battery capacity and the associated times can be correlated. Okay, so there's something called open circuit voltage as well. So the open circuit voltage of a cell is like when the current flow is 0, then the internal cell state is at equilibrium, and so basically, so this is this indicates the circuit voltage when the current flow is 0. That means there is no load. Okay, so probably this is correlated to the usually for LiMO2, that is lithium metal oxide cathode cells, it is correlated at 50% of SOC, and it is usually defined as 3.6 to 3.7 volts. And this is a very important parameter. And of course, so this voltage defines the capacity of the cells. Cobalt oxide based cells, they have maximum voltages up to 4.35 volts. Otherwise, 3.6 to 3.7 volts is the standard operating voltage of a battery. So knowing the OCV, open circuit voltage, we can estimate the voltage of the battery, considering that during charge discharge, the resistances within the cell lower or rise during the operation of the battery. Because so continuous discharging or continuous charging leads to the deterioration of the metal foils associated with the anodes and cathodes, thereby the resistance of the material changes. So therefore the voltage of the cell is defined as open circuit voltage plus or minus. So that is plus I stands for the deterioration, so which is plus or minus times the DCR. DCR is basically DC resistance of the cell. Okay, so I can be plus or minus. So when it is plus, then you have more voltage than the rated. When it is minus, you have less voltage than the rated. Okay. So when it can be negative, so for instance, the if a cell is severely over discharged, for instance, the voltages are less than 2.5 volts, then the copper substrate of the anode. So if you remember, so the anode is so that is graphite, which is substrate. The substrate for the anode. So negative electrode made of graphite coated onto a metal like copper foil. So therefore, this copper foil starts to disintegrate during extreme discharges for voltages less than 2 in the electrolyte, and then so they will be reaching the cathode as well. And this creates problem upon charging, because the copper in the solution solution plate at the cathode, they forms a bridging or short circuit with the anode, which is not expected. Okay, so such a short circuiting can lead to rise of temperatures and hence the thermal runaway. So that means the battery will be leading to thermal runaway. That means there will be blasting. So you might have seen several accidents because in two-wheelers because of this. That means the battery all of a sudden blows up. So the mechanism behind this is the thermal runaway. This can happen because of the continuously rising temperatures or because of these kind of things, over discharging or charging. So the metal foils associated with the anode and cathode materials, they start to disintegrate, and then so the metal ions will be depositing. Ions from cathode will be depositing on anode, and ions from anode will be depositing on cathode, thereby forming a short bridge or short circuit, leading to finally thermal explosion. Okay. The point is like the charge voltage should not exceed a maximum rated voltage like 4.2, and it should not go down beyond 2.5. So therefore, the recommended charging percentages, even in your batteries like cell phones as well as the mobile phones, is 90%. More than 90% can lead to such kind of overcharging or over discharging. Both are not good for the health of the battery. All right. So some useful parameter like the energy. So for instance, if you consider this particular cell, so this is a lithium-ion rechargeable, and then you can see that there are some numbers written. So there is this capacity which is expressed as 5,200 milliampere hours. That is like 5.2 ampere hours, and the voltage is specified as 3.7 volts. Okay, so then the energy associated with this battery can be simply estimated as the capacity times the voltage. So that is like 5.2, that is ampere hours, times 3.7. So that is like 19.24 watt hours. By the way, so this is 26650 is the number of the battery, so which is associated with the parameters of the battery. So this is a cylindrical battery, and I have some parameters in the coming up slides. I'll show you that there. So at the moment, the energy of this battery is 5.2 times 3.7, that is 19.2 watt hours. That means, so if I use this battery for 1 hour, it can produce a power of 19.24 watts. Okay. Alternately, this battery can provide a power of 19.24 watts for 1 hour. Okay, that's how the energy of the battery can be defined. And in the similar line, so you can estimate the current based on the capacity as well as the C rating. So as I mentioned, the current and C rating are related. So because C rating is something to do with the time. So therefore capacity times the C rating, because C rating is like associated with the per unit time. So therefore this time cancels out, providing me my current drop. Okay. So therefore, C rating, tested value at which battery can be continuously charged or discharged. We have already seen this. And the maximum constant discharge current then can be drawn from the lithium-ion or lithium polymer pack safely without harming the battery pack is defined as, in other words, if you know the capacity and C rating, you can estimate the current that can be drawn. For instance, if I consider 1000 milliampere hours or 1 ampere hour, in 20C battery pack, the safe maximum current can be estimated as 20 ampere hours. So, sorry, 20 amperes. All right. So based on this, you can calculate the required voltage and currents for the required application. Because if you look at the electric vehicles runs on the power produced by the batteries. So such cylindrical batteries are arranged in series and parallel connections such that the required voltage and current can be generated, which can be used to run the electric motor, thereby that powers the vehicle. Okay, so that's the technology behind all electric vehicles, particularly if you look at Tesla vehicles. So you can see a lot of such rechargeable cylindrical cells which are arranged in series and parallel fashion, so to arrive at the required currents and voltages, and hence the power that is required to move the vehicle. Okay. Yeah. So although it is possible to draw more current than 20 amperes, but not recommended because this can damage the battery very much. Okay. So these are some basic or fundamental aspects related to the battery. And so based on this, you might have got some idea of like what could be the best battery material for my application. So this is a kind of summary, so which may take some time or some efforts to understand or absorb. One important parameter that researchers look for is high energy density. So that means a battery with a large amount of watt-hours per kg is highly preferred, because this holds a lot of energy for the given weight of the material. So for it's got 3600 watt-hours per kg. For instance, you can look at these numbers. So this is adapted from energy storage materials. Then lithium has got something like 3.861 ampere hours per gram. Probably it is like something like 3800 per kg. So this is highest among all the known materials: sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, zinc, aluminum, and so on. So because of such a high energy density, fast charging ability, ease of operation, electrochemical stability, and lightweight, so lithium-ion batteries are widely used in a variety of applications, including your mobile phones, laptops, electric vehicles, and whatnot, everywhere. They are efficient as compared to other technologies like lead acid, nickel metal halide, and so on. However, you see the abundance is only 0.002%, so which is significantly low. So thanks to the discoveries in India, so huge resources of lithium have been identified in the areas of Kashmir recently. So they have to be extracted, and perhaps we have a lot of future on such extraction processing, development of the technologies to arrive at the batteries and finally use them in a variety of applications, including electric vehicles. Okay, so and yeah, so it has got very less abundance, and when it is mixed with the liquid electrolytes, so there's a risk of thermal runaway and hence flammable, because the liquid or gel based electrolytes they make them flammable because they are organic. Okay, so therefore safety is an issue in case of lithium ion batteries, and hence you might have seen a lot of explosions recently. So and furthermore, their performance at high temperatures drastically drops down, and abusive conditions like high temperatures, overcharging, physical damage, so can lead to hurdles in the practical uses, potentially culminating in fields failures, basically characterized by the thermal runaway. Basically, so it all says that they're not safe to use at the moment. Okay, so unless you take enough measures, the technologies in cars, they use mechanisms to maintain the temperatures. For instance, the cooling. So there's something called battery management system, so which is basically look after the thermal management of the battery, so which is achieved by developing the cooling methods, air cooling, liquid cooling, and PCM metal, and so on. Okay, so PCM materials and so on. So therefore, thereby they maintain the temperature. Therefore, the thermal runaway, chances of thermal runaway in case of four-wheelers is significantly lower as compared to two-wheelers. Okay. Okay, alternately, one aspect to address this issue is to go for solid state batteries. So which means my electrolyte is no more liquid or gel-like, but a solid thing. So towards this, people have proposed something like metal batteries. Okay, so metal air batteries. So they, for instance, you can think about magnesium air, zinc air, aluminum air, iron air, lithium air, sodium air, strontium air, and so on. Okay, so these are the latest research trends. So in the areas related to the batteries. Okay, so the energy or the energy density associated with this material is not bad. So any questions? Okay, so you can see as high as 1700 watt hours per kg. So which is attractive, almost it is like 50% of what lithium metal, but this is also again associated with lithium air. Again, you know, the bad features of particularly the less abundance of lithium is attributed here. The next material is next potential candidate material is sodium. So therefore, sodium air has got an energy density of 1600, which is not bad, which is comparable to magnesium. So therefore, people are working on this material as well as aluminum air. So in case of these air technologies, we don't have electrolyte. So metal air batteries like these metals combines with the electrolytes, liquid, solid, bifunctional electrolytes. So you can simply avoid this liquid. You can go for solid air electrolytes. So to work on the electrochemical reduction of atmospheric oxygen. So this is again one more advantage. You don't need to have a separate storage for oxygen. So you can simply extract or use the oxygen from atmosphere for oxidation as well as reverse oxidation to happen, and hence create the energy or generate the energy. Okay, so this is the latest technology. So there are some issues associated, but so this is promising, at least if not for applications requirements where the power requirements are not that big. Okay, so the advantage is like you are eliminating this such liquid electrolyte and thereby reducing the danger of explosions. And also the storage of oxygen can be eliminated, reducing the weight and improved safety. Okay, so this is another trend in the areas related to batteries. All right, so coming to my research on batteries. So we have a group of students. We had a group of students over the years. Something like we started working way back in 2019. Okay, so this paper in 2020. So this is a result of our research on 2018 and 2019. And then several people have contributed towards the research on batteries. For instance, Rohit was MTech student, Pratik, Parthiv, Ashish. So these are all MTech students, and they worked rigorously on various topics to produce results which can be published. Dhruval was a BTech student and was very, very efficient, and right now he's in Stanford. Shivanshu is a very efficient, he was a dual degree student, and he's in Hyderabad working. All these students have settled in some corporates, and then they are doing extremely well. So the results can be seen in journal articles. For instance, we have Journal of Energy Storage, so where we worked on the thermal management of lithium-ion batteries, and energy storage, so where we worked on designing the lithium-ion battery packs for two-wheeled electric vehicles in India. And Parthiv has done design and analysis of lithium-ion pouch cells with LMO and MC blended cathodes. And so this is he has worked on a novel idea, why to have a single material for cathode, but we can go for a blending cathode, something like LMO and MC, such that the best features of these two can be combined and the battery performance can be enhanced. Okay. Whereas, this was a very nice idea published in Journal of Energy Storage. Whereas 𝐂𝐱𝐩𝐿 has worked on machine learning approaches for battery health monitoring, and his work is published in Energy Journal. All right, so there are a lot of works going on, and we are positive and looking forward to further enhancements in these topics. Right, so I would like to highlight two specific works. For instance, Dhruval's work. So this was published in Energy Storage. It was in 2023. So this work was done something like 21 or 22, and it took a while to publish, to draft the manuscript and then submit for publication. So it takes 6 months to 1 year. All right. So his work is mainly design and development of the cylindrical batteries, rechargeable batteries for two-wheeled electric vehicles. So we have chose 3 different cells, as I mentioned in the previous slide. So 26650 corresponds to the outer diameter of the cell is 26, and then the height is 65. Okay, so in the similar lines, 21700 corresponds to 21 diameter, 70 height. All these things are in millimeters. 18650 corresponds to 18 millimeters of outer diameter and 65 millimeters height. All right, that's how the batteries are named. Okay, so the layers are wound around a central mandrel, so which is shown in black color. All right. So our considered conditions are like this. So we considered 8,000 cycles, 8,000 second cycle, and then the vehicle has to quickly accelerate from 0 to, let's say, 10 meters per second, and then probably you can convert that speed to kilometers per hour. It may come around 40 or 50 or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, and then it has to cruise for over 8,000 seconds. Alternately, it has to go for a range of 100 kilometers. Okay, so an average speed has been considered, and then accordingly, if it is going for 40, then probably it is 100 kilometers, 40 or 50, maybe 2 hours or so. So probably 2 hours is something like 7,200 seconds, close to 8,000. That's how this thing, 8,000 second has been selected. Yeah, so this was the mission. This was the objective. And we developed the battery packs for such requirements, and then we have seen proposed a variety of packs considering 18650, 21,700, 26650. And what we did is we developed a framework for the design of battery packs in this case. And we considered 3 different cells, and then Activa 6C vehicle was considered for 100 kilometers. And we performed the parametric and thermal management studies to estimate the capacity fade, how the capacity is going down with the time, as well as the influence of various battery parameters, including the thickness of the electrodes, particle sizes, overall battery performance, etc. And then we considered, these 3.7 volts and then 5,000 milliampere hours for each battery. Apart from this, we also estimated the heat generation rate and then the associated temperatures. and then we identified that 2650 cells are best in terms of heat generation, because they have more area, so the diameter is larger, so therefore they have more heat dissipation, scope for heat dissipation. So this was one interesting study that we made, and then so this was quite practical as well. So we are able to propose the pack sizes for two-wheeler like Activa 6G, considering a range of 100 kilometers. If you look at the market these days, this was done in 2019, maybe 2021. If you look at the market now these days, you can see the vehicles being rated as 60 kilometers, 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 120, 150, maximum 180. Not more than that. Even if you look at the Ola, so which is most advanced because they use 8 kilowatt hours of battery. So therefore, the range for that is 180 kilometers. So we were very much on dot, or very much towards the expectation. 100 kilometers was our very good choice for the current conditions. People are working around these 100 kilometers, and then they are designing the battery packs accordingly. Okay. All right. So that's one work, and the second work by Parthiv, as I mentioned, so we have the issues with LMO and NMC cathodes. So for instance, LMO cathode, lithium manganese oxide, so that is the full form of LMO, and it has low energy density, poor cycle life, good thermal stability, good rate capability. So these are some good things, whereas the poor things are there, like low energy density and poor cycle life. Whereas NMC, that is nickel manganese cobalt, has got low thermal safety, poor rate capability, whereas high energy density and better cycle life. You see, these two properties, they are compensated with NMC. So therefore, it's smart or clever to combine or blend these two to compensate for the low energy density of LMO with high energy density of NMC, resulting in enhanced energy density, better thermal stability, better rate capability, and enhanced cycle life. Okay, so therefore, with this idea, so we worked on developing such cathode materials. Parthiv has done a significant amount of studies to arrive at huge volume of results, and all those results are published in this paper. I don't want to go through those results because of lack of time. All right, so the next aspect is so batteries are fine. So batteries, they work, they are clean, they are good, they are noiseless, they have all good qualities. Of course, they come with the negative qualities also, negative characteristics as well. Those things can be overcome. But one main aspect that is associated with the batteries is how to charge them. You need huge amount of powers to charge the batteries. For instance, around 4 million, this is something like 40 lakh charging units in China already. So in 2024, whereas we are talking about establishing such charging units in the country. So which indicates that, so we are a little behind, okay, way behind. And they are talking about doubling the number of such charging units in a year from now. Or this is already a double as compared to last year. Okay, and probably this may be double by next year. So therefore, that is the order of the day in China. So they are moving ahead. And one alternative to avoid or reduce such charging units can be going for solar parks like this. Okay, so this is a parking lot where you can see a huge number of solar panels being installed on the roofs, just that so the sun energy can be converted to electrical energy, and then that can be used for charging the cars. So you see that the cars require at least 8 to 10 hours for a full charge. So this is the best time to charge them. Nighttime, so you never know if some accidents are going to happen, because some explosion can happen. But over here, so it is a daytime, and then the power is from sun energy, and then mostly once the people come to office, they will spend at least 6 to 8 hours so that the car becomes fully charged, so that they can start using while leaving home. So this is a very, very smart and intelligent idea. And alternately, you can also think about placing such solar cells on cars, because this may work for in a daily life. But if you want to take the cars for a long drive, currently, the range of the batteries is around. Okay, let me close the window so that the sounds can be reduced. Okay, it's raining here. So these electric cars, they're not good for long drives. So 400 or 500 is on the lower side. So if I have something like 700 to 800, probably, yeah. So that's a good range. People can think about to and fro within a distance of 300 to 400 kilometers. Okay. So in order to achieve such kind of ranges, you can think about placing such solar cells on the roof of the cars and integrating the cells and battery technologies. So with the same, few more students in my group like Varma, Manish, Ankur, Krish, Harikesh, so they contributed towards the development of solar cells. So basically, we arrived at we arrived at the methods to estimate the current voltage characteristics of silicon-based solar cells using different techniques like molecular dynamics, and then quantum mechanics-based approaches, of course, deep machine learning, and yeah. So we performed several studies. Because we are running out of time, so I'll not go through the details, but I'll simply mention a few facts. The facts is that solar cells are made up of silicon, which are very, very brittle material. So this can be prone to cracks during its operation. So the cracks usually evolves at subscales like macro and nano scales, and so you can see the cracks at the macro scales over a longer period of time, because solar cells, they are usually designed for 20 years or more life. Okay, so therefore these cracks, they do act as lines of resistances, and they will finally lead to reduction in power with time. Okay, so therefore such a degradation leads to deterioration of the power generated from the solar modules. So we made attempt to we developed techniques to predict such degradation in power. Okay, so this is the basic mechanics of solar cells. I will skip this because of lack of time. And what I can say is, like, through our developed methods, we estimated that the power generated from the solar cells in the presence of cracks is significantly lower, that is almost zero, as compared to the power from other regions of the solar cell. Okay, so this was the main conclusion from our studies. And of course, we propose some alternatives or techniques to avoid the cracks. For example, depositing graphene on silicon surface. Graphene is a very, very mechanically strong structure as well as electrically conductive. So therefore, both electrical conductivity and mechanical strength can be combined together. Okay, so this was one idea, and we performed the studies, depositing graphene on top of silicon. And of course, we have a lot of studies on deep machine learning as well. So I don't want to go through all these studies because of lack of time. Finally, I would like to conclude with our research on hybrid cellular structures. The idea is like the application is for impact applications. So usually these kind of structures are used in impact applications. For instance, bumpers in cars and all, where the loading is in case of accident, when the automobile hits or some foreign particle hits the automobile at high speeds. So such kind of a scenario can be considered as impact. So such impact leads to creation of a lot of energy, and that has to be absorbed. And we propose these kind of structures by mimicking the nature. Okay, so the results are provided in variety of publications as shown over here. So if somebody is interested, probably you can contact me. I'll try to provide you more details. So basically, this is one of the superior structure that we perform. This is the unit cell, so which you can see as a combination of a spider web as well as a hexagon. Okay, so this is a hybrid structure as a combination of spider web and a hexagon. This is another cell. Okay, so this is the unit cell, and then by repeating this unit cell in 3 dimensions, you will get a continuous core-like structure like this, and then this core was used to make the sandwich structures, and then we perform the bullet impacts onto such sandwich structures. Okay, yeah, and then we reported that this particular cellular structure is very efficient in resisting the impacting loads, including the bullet impacts. Okay, yeah. So I'd like to conclude with thanks to all my students, collaborators, and yeah, whoever works with me. Thank you one and all for your patience, and thanks for spending time. I'm open to questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this session. Now I would like to call Apoor for questioning.
Thank you, Suranjali. Sir, my question is, what are the biggest challenges currently facing by researchers in machine learning, and how can
Currently facing on what?
sir, the challenges facing by researchers in deep machine learning?
Okay. Challenges facing on, can you please be a little louder?
Sir, challenges facing in deep machine learning.
Deep machine learning. Okay, all right. Okay, fine. So deep machine learning. So there are plenty of challenges. One of the main challenges is to reproduce the physics. Okay. For instance, deep machine learning is good at performing the computations faster, but whether those computations can exactly reproduce the physics or not, that has to be checked by the researcher, or that has to be checked by the individual. Okay, so they are, you can consider them as the data driven models, in the sense like, so you will have some data. For instance, if you are thinking about developing deep machine learning models for batteries, so you can have input parameters and then output parameters. The input parameters could be like the operating temperature, and then the material characteristics, and then the output parameters could be like the current voltage characteristics, performance, and so on. So therefore, based on these combination of these parameters, like material characteristics and operating conditions, we will generate a set of output parameters. So this data is actually used to train the model. So such a model is known as the supervised learning model, and such that so the trained model can predict the output parameters for the arbitrary input parameters. Okay, so the accuracy of these model depends on the amount of data that you use to train the model. In other words, the larger the data, the better will be the model. Okay, but getting these such huge amount of data is a challenge. And also consider the battery technology in various conditions. For instance, if you are using batteries in India, so the operating conditions are different. Europe, they are different. In US, they are different. In China, they are different. So therefore, a model that is suitable in India may not be suitable in Europe and America and China. So therefore, one challenge is to develop the suitable models to actually and accurately predict the physics of the system that is under investigation. Okay? Also, so these cannot be taken for granted always. Okay, because of the varying operating conditions during operations. So the temperature generated inside the battery materials again depends on the input parameters. Therefore, again, the development model may not be suitable always. So therefore, this all depends on the time as well, or the condition or the state of the system that we are operating. So this is another challenge. So in a way, machine learning models are like a black box, because we don't have much control over the model once it is trained. Okay, so therefore you provide some input and it throws some output. So it all depends on the way the way you analyze or adapt the output to your problems. Okay, so you have to carefully process instead of blindly accepting the output. Look at the output and then think whether it makes sense or not. Okay, so this is another issue, and particularly if you are thinking about, that is as far as the supervised learning models are concerned. Alternately, if you are thinking about physics-informed neural networks, where we have a set of equations for a given model, and these equations are solved with the help of neural networks. So in such scenarios, reproducing the physics is a difficult problem, particularly the boundary conditions. Okay, so therefore this is another issue to be addressed. Okay, one issue is the correctness, another issue is the reproducing the boundary conditions, another issue is like so you have the volume. Basically, the data that is required to be supplied to the machine learning models is usually huge if you want to have a good machine learning model. Okay, therefore, creation of creation or generation of the data is again another challenge. Okay, so yeah. Therefore, there is a lot of scope on this particular topic, like machine learning models for mechanical engineering. People are starting a dedicated journals on this particular topic, considering the importance of this particular topic. So dedicated journals are being initiated, machine learning applications in mechanical engineering, with the titles. Yeah. I hope I'm able to answer your question. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, I have another question. Sir, can I ask the question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, how can students make a balance between theoretical knowledge and practical application in their research pursuit?
Okay, fine. Yeah, this is an interesting question. So probably you may not come across practical application always and while solving a analytical or theoretical model, but you must be fortunate if you find a practical application. Okay, the idea is to always, while selecting the problem itself, go look at the practical application or practical relevance, so that the research performed on that particular topic makes some sense, or it provides a kind of satisfaction as well as usefulness, right? So it can be seen. For instance, if you look at my research on batteries, so we started anticipating this call, whatever that has appeared recently by the government of India 5 years back itself. So particularly, so I had a feeling or intuition like batteries are going to play a role in the coming years in the country. So therefore, that's how I started venturing into this area. So thanks to some of the students who has agreed with me, and then so who joined hands to work on the topics that I proposed, and then so they were able to make some progress. So therefore, so one way is like, so we can actually see it, or if not see it, you can actually see the things happening in the rest of the world. So probably you can expect that something can be significant, something significant is going to happen in the country as well. Okay, so therefore, so these are the ways. One is intuition, another one is you can have a look at what's happening around the world, and you can actually participate in gatherings like conferences and things like that, so that you can you'll have an opportunity to know what others are doing, and hence you can extract those ideas or apply those ideas to your thoughts, because that's why, because research is a creation, right? So if something is already there, then there's no point in doing it again. Okay, so something has to emanate from the brain. Yeah.
So thank you for your answer. I think someone else is raising their hand for a question, I think. Anant Ram Patel.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
My question is, let's say I have one image of solar cell battery. So how I can differentiate it is monocrystalline solar cell battery or polycrystalline solar cell battery?
Okay. So silicon is the material that is used in solar cells. So yeah, basically you can look at it by looking at it. You can clearly identify whether it is monocrystalline or polycrystalline. For instance, look at this particular image.
Yes, sir.
So you can see all black, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is a single crystal silicon. So this is carefully grown while producing. So they make silicon ingots, and then they use a very fine wire to cut this into thin layers of 0.166 microns. So obviously, so that's how the monocrystalline silicons are made. And polycrystalline silicons, you just Google it and look at the images, so you can see the grain boundaries and then colors being varied. I had an image before. Yeah, look at this, all black, right? So these are all monocrystalline silicon. Polycrystalline, by looking at them, so you can actually identify, you can see the grain boundaries. So which indicates that, there are multiple grains. That means it's a polycrystalline material. Yeah, by the way, so monocrystalline or single crystal silicon is more efficient compared to polycrystalline. So that's why most of the times the people use single crystal silicon. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for answering the questions.
Yeah.
Now I would.
Before you go, Professor Pattabhi Ramaiah, this is Sutrakar here.
Yeah.
Nice lecture, and I'm really happy to see a lot of things you and your team is doing. I just want you to tell something about that, how for a BTech student basically, how the institute like IIT Bhubaneswar is taking some steps to motivate them for the research basically.
Yeah.
So that, because these are all the young BTech third year, second year, first year students.
Right.
So I expect that at least by they finish their undergrad, at least they should do something so that it should be useful for the society, specifically to the science.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Vijay. Yeah, so we generally encourage students at the BTech level. So what you can think about is we have these programs known as the internship programs. So usually people at the end of second year, so they approach the faculty members, and then so depending on your interest, so you can identify the concerned faculty members working in those related areas and then try to get in touch with them. So such that during summertime, you can have an opportunity to come here, and then, so this is official program, like you can also get a certificate. Work here on the identified topics of your interest as well as the interest of the concerned faculty members, such that, this collaboration can be continued during your third year and final year as well. So if you have continued interest and if you think like you are making good progress, you can continue this work during your third year as well as part of your final year project as well. Okay. So in other words, there are opportunities at IIT Bhubaneswar to have a collaborative project work. So people from outside can collaborate with the faculty members of IIT Bhubaneswar, such that, so the guidance will be joint, and then so such that, the results can be maximized. Okay, so it's a collaborative research. So you can, only thing is it all depends on your interest, and then so your continuous efforts. So we are ready to cooperate, and then we are ready to support to the extent required, and then you can certainly utilize the facilities available at IIT Bhubaneswar whenever you find opportunity. So a lot of experiments are going on, and then so a lot of computational studies in my group. So therefore you have an opportunity to meet with the other colleagues, other researchers over here, so that you can exchange your ideas or gain knowledge, or you can always transfer your knowledge. Okay, so we are doing this process, and I'm able to find at least 2 to 3 good students who has continued their research, and then finally that has resulted in a publication. Of course, publication is not, may not be your destiny, but it's good to publish your results, okay, so that you have a record. Okay, but main understanding and then main knowledge gaining the knowledge is the main motivation that we look for. And then let me tell you, like, so whoever worked in my group, so they are all well settled in the sense, because I more push the students to more towards gaining the knowledge rather than doing for the sake of doing. Okay, so that's how my group works. As a result, so the competition or the motivation is internal. So the student work individually with their own freedom, their own freedom, so that they work at home, they work at office. I don't mind like doing, but I want the result at the end of the day. So therefore, they were given that freedom, and then so they are free to interact, they are free to utilize the resources. So that's how so we are able to maximize the it's a win-win situation, okay, both for the student as well as for the faculty. So I have shared my details already in my very first slide. So please feel free. Otherwise, I have the details in the web page as well. You can drop an email. So I generally respond to all emails. I'll be happy to, yeah, help you, guide you, or yeah, whatever that is that you expect. Okay.
Thanks, Professor Pattabi. I just request the students, those who are interested, as he mentioned, please feel free to be in touch with him or maybe with me. We will try to help you if somebody wants to really look into their career into this direction. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sir, I would like to call Dipanshi for vote of thanks and
Yeah.
Thank you, Saranjali. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Riva Engineering College, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Pattabi Ramaiah sir, Associate Professor at IIT Bhubaneswar, for taking the time to join us today. Your insightful session on the latest research trends in academics has greatly enriched our understanding and sparked new ideas. Your dedication to sharing your expertise, especially in advanced topics like lithium-ion batteries, solar cells, and computational methods is truly inspiring. Thank you once again for your valuable contribution to today's session. We look forward to future collaborations emerging from your expertise. Thank you so much once again. Over to you, Saranjali.
thank you, Dipanshi. Now, I would like to ask everyone to please open your camera. We can take a snapshot.
Okay. Shall I stop sharing?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay. Thank you.
Vishal, let us know if the screenshot is done. Okay, thank you, sir, for this